Yes, so welcome back. In the last topic, we were discussing about the selection of materials. So in that again, it was classified into ferrous materials and non-ferrous materials. So we have briefly discussed about the what are the ferrous materials and what is the non-ferrous materials and how it behaves at different conditions. So next we are going to discuss about the choice of selection of engineering materials. So on what basis or how we going to select a particular material? For example, if I want to manufacture one particular screw jack, so based on we have a screw jack will be having a different components. So all putting assembling of a different components put together, we are going to get or we are going to form one complete screw jack, right? That is about the screw jack. So for that screw jack, how we going to manufacture? Because we need a different types of materials. For an handle we require a different material. For a screw we going to use a different material. So like this we will be having a different types of materials are required to manufacture one particular screw jack. So on what basis or how we going to select the materials is one is about the first thing whenever for not only the screw jack for whichever manufacturing for any manufacturing of any component of or any object, first we need to see the availability of the materials, whether that particular material is available or not. First we need to clarify that whether the availability of the materials are there or not. Then next is based on about the sustainability of materials for the working conditions in service. Yes, so this plays in a very important role. So first thing when we are going to check with the availability of the material. So next thing is whether that particular material is suitable for an working conditions when it is coming reality to the picture or when it is applicable in the working conditions, whether it is sustainability of that material will be working or not. With that we need to majorly the role of an engineer is whenever we are selecting the material, we need to identify whether it can able to sustain the working condition. That is working conditions in the service is nothing but during a operation time or during a working condition during a distribution of load, whether the material can able to sustain that particular load or not. So this is also one of the major thing whenever we are going to select the material. The major thing what we need to identify is the sustainability of the material, whether it is takes place or not. So and the next one is about the cost of the materials. Yes, so even the cost also plays in a very important role. So we need to able to identify the material with the cost also the plays in a major role. Based on that cost also we need to identify that particular materials. So next one is about the now we have finished about the classification, then we have discussed about the on what basis we are going to select an engineering materials. So next we are going to discuss about the physical properties. What is the physical properties of majorly of any material? So whether it might be in a size, or we can able to identify the shape, or we can able to identify the color, or we can able to identify the luster, and we can able to mention the these are the some of the physical properties means what we can able to see the materials. So only we can able to identify these are the some of the physical properties of any material. So we can't able to tell what are the strength or what is the properties, we can't able to identify. Only the physical property is nothing but what we can able to see, that we can able to easily mention by seeing any object. For example, if I am seeing any mobile, I can able to identify what are the physical, but I can't able to identify what is the chip inside or how it works, what is the battery capacity, all we cannot able to identify. Only by seeing is I can able to or we can able to see only the physical properties of any object or any material. So in that we can able to identify the colors, size, or we can able to identify the shape. So these about the physical properties of material. So next we are going to discuss about the what are the mechanical properties of a particular materials. As I told, mainly physical properties and mechanical properties. Based on these physical properties and mechanical properties, so we can able to select different types of materials for a different application. So one is based on we can able to classifying the different types of categories of materials. Then based on the selection, now I select one particular material XYZ. Now I need to find out the what is the mechanical properties, because whenever it is in the working condition, based on the properties only we can able to select whether this particular material is suitable for this working conditions, or we need to replace the any other material for this particular working condition. So based on the material only we can able to identify the based on the properties only we can able to identify the material, whether this particular material is suitable for this working conditions or not. So first we're going to look at the we discuss about the physical properties. Now we're going to discuss about the mechanical properties. So the mainly the mechanical properties are load, elasticity, plasticity, ductility, brittleness, hardness, toughness. So these are the malleability, ductility. So these are some of the major mechanical properties of any particular material. So first now we are going to discuss about the one by one. First I am going to discuss about the load. Yes. So it is the main is the load is nothing but an external forcing force acting on that particular body. Body is nothing but a particular material. So whenever it is in the working under an service, so when we apply the load, how the material will behave to that particular force or what we call it as a load. So based on that, we can able to identify what is the load or what is the force carrying capacity of that particular body or a particular material can be easily identified through the by applying some external force. We can able to see the properties of the material. So next one is about we are going to see about the elasticity. Elasticity is it is a property by virtue of which a material deformed under a load is enabled to return to its original dimensions when the load is removed. Yes. So elasticity is nothing but for example, if you take a rubber. So when we applied a compressive force or a tensile force, it elongates or it comes closer. When you remove the load, what happens? Again, it comes back to its original shape and size. Without any elongation, it comes back to its original dimensions. That is original shape and size. So that is what we call as an elasticity. It means the material whenever you are applying a load within the elasticity, the material will does not change its shape and size. After removing the load, it will regain its shape and size. Another example, if you take for example a spring, or if you take a shock absorber, when you apply the load, it the spring will absorb the load. Once after the releasing the load, what happens? Again it comes back to its original shape and size. So it does not lose any shape and size. So within that particular elasticity, the material will be regains its shape and size. That is what we call as an elasticity. Where you can able to see this one of a small example we have taken. What is the stress and the strain? Where so the graph is plotted about the how whenever we going to test any specimen. So in the specimen is loaded up to a point A where you can able to within the elastic limit. So when the E is nothing but an elastic limit where the corresponding point A is gradually removed from the curve that follows the same path. So this behaves means this is example of how the stress and strains acts in within the elastic limit for whenever we are going to consider any test on the specimen or any material. So how we can in this test or in this material by seeing this graph we can able to identify the so the within the elastic limit within that elastic limit the material which is under the observation or which is under the service, it will be regains its shape and size or it will regain its original shape and size or structure after the removal of load. So whenever the material will regain its shape and size within the elasticity, so that we call it as the elasticity will under a stress strain conditions only. So next one is about the plasticity. So the plasticity is nothing but it is a property of a material which retains the deformation under the load condition permanently. Yes. So the elasticity and the difference between the plasticity is nothing but whenever after removing the load which regains its shape and size, that is what we call it as an elasticity. So once whenever it crosses the elasticity, for example when you are applying a load a bit behind or it crosses the elasticity, the material will goes to the next state, that is what we call it as a plasticity. When after removing of the load also it will does not regain its shape and size or it does not regain its original shape and size after removing the load also. So that is means automatically when the material reaches to the plasticity, automatically what happens, it changes its shape and size or structure permanently because it has been crossed to the elasticity. So this is how the difference between the elasticity and plasticity. So next one is about the ductility. So it is a property of the material which exhibits large deformation in longitudinal direction under only the tensile force before the failure. See, any material will be having a failure at one particular point. The material will starts breaking or it will be the failure. So for every material there will be some particular point. So when you tell me taking an ductility, it is a property of a material which executes the large deformation. So that deformation will take only in the longitudinal direction under the tensile force. So mainly we will be having a compressive force, that is whenever we are compressing, but the tensile force is nothing but an equal and opposite Pulls. So equal and opposite pulls or pushes, that is what we are going to consider between the tension.